Hey everybody, I'm Lauren Khalil with Syracuse Sweat Club, and today we're starting a new series called Coach's Corner. First, we have our guinea pig, Coach Pat. We're learning all about you today.
Perfect. I hope everyone's ready.
I think people are ready, especially because the mustache is still there.
It's still got a week and a half of November left, so we'll see how much more we can get here.
So is the whole thing going to be shaved come December, or you're going to keep a little bit?
I might have to cast some votes.
Oh no. An Instagram poll, beware.
Maybe if we go that far. Yeah, I know the majority of people want it gone, and that's almost incentivizing me to want to keep it.
And the members want it gone.
Well, I noticed that there's a lot more guys in the gym walking around with mustaches.
Do you think that you were like the trendsetter or something?
I didn't try to be. I'm sure there's a few of us that spark that, but it feels like the right thing to do now for all the guys.
Have you seen it impact your fitness? Has it made your lifts go up?
I have never had. The last time I had a clean PR was in 2019, and I had a mustache for one weekend, and I did it. And the strength numbers have been feeling fantastic this month.
Well, you have a week and a half left to test all the PRs before hopefully the stash goes away. All right, so what we're talking about today is, how you got into fitness and CrossFit. What's your athletic background for people who don't know?
How far back do you want me to go?
Let's go right back to the beginning.
Okay. Well,
way back.
Where I grew up, it was, you started playing lacrosse and in sports in general pretty early. So I was probably playing lacrosse as early as like 6, and I played pretty much up until my second year of college. So with that came a lot of just experimenting with things that would help lacrosse. And in that pursuit, it was lacrosse and soccer. And in that pursuit, I did a lot of weight room exercises, we'll call it, that might have turned into what looked like bodybuilding, what turned into some strength training, but it was all kind of done by myself as, a means to pursue becoming a better athlete in the field. In that same pursuit, I found myself in trying a whole bunch of different mixed martial arts. Most notably, I stuck with boxing for 2 years. And that was probably the most similar to CrossFit in terms of strength and conditioning. Aside from the heavier weightlifting, a lot of the conditioning and body weight things they're really similar to CrossFit. I dabbled in jiu-jitsu, I dabbled in judo. Neither one of those were very good for me, but I tried. I gave them each probably about 6 months, so I felt like I gave them a good shot. I just wasn't, it wasn't my thing. And I actually don't even think I was very good at boxing either, but again, I just was in pursuit. I would say I was a good athlete in the ring, but there was just people that were just, they felt like they were born for that.
Yeah.
And
you weren't that one.
You find that out pretty quick, who those people are.
So, what was it that you found out, this is definitely not for me, I need to keep searching for a different sport?
Outside of boxing?
Yeah.
The fact that, you start losing more often than you're winning.
That's a good indicator.
Once you lose enough, and then you're, in college and you're having a hard time concentrating in class because, your brain has just been kind of beating around, you kind of are like, I think I'm going to hang it up. So by the time I was 20, I hung that up. And, I was actually fortunate enough to have CrossFit in my high school gym. And the guy that just was like the guy that looked over the weight room for like 3 hours a night happened to be a level 1 CrossFit certified coach.
So that's how you found CrossFit?
Yeah.
I don't think I even knew that story.
Yeah. So I never really dabbled much in it. I made sure that I still got my bodybuilding in because I wanted, like any other 18-year-old kid, wanted to make sure my arms looked a certain way, wanted to make sure I had a decent bench press, things that were, socially gonna, elevate me.
Put you in that high fitness class.
But those guys and girls would pull me into a workout here and there. So early on, I learned a little bit about CrossFit, and back then it was certainly different than what the sport evolved into. With that being said, then I went to college, played college ball for a little bit, and pretty much just ended up giving myself all my own programming and experimenting and using the weight rooms there, and we never really had a ton of direction. So I kind of ended up on my own pursuit, leading into outside of college. Then at that point, it was just, okay, I want to be in shape. The bodybuilding thing was good. It worked. It just became boring. And then that's where, at that point, affiliates started opening up. So when I started CrossFit, there was no such thing as an affiliate. So
What year was that?
When I first started CrossFit, it was probably 2000. I tried it first time in 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you were like in the early years of CrossFit.
I knew what it was. I experimented, but I never was fully into it like I was in my 20s. Let's put it that way. I wish I was. I wish I stuck with it, because if had I known I was going to be into it as much as I am now, I would have loved to have gotten better at it earlier.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Not that I regret that, but then when I got into my 20s and I was kind of getting bored with the bodybuilding, I found this gym, and I was kind of transitioning out of doing my own thing, and I kind of was one of those deals where I'd come here 2 days a week, and I'd still have my same bodybuilding routine 2 or 3 days a week, and then just that ratio just slowly switched until I got really, kind of drank with CrossFit, and I guess that's how I can wrap it up. That's how I found it.
So you've always been into athletics. You've always enjoyed competition. Now, I mean, working out in CrossFit since 2007, getting more involved, deeper into your 20s and now even into your early 30s. How would you say that the mindset and the sport has evolved for you?
Well, I mean, I saw CrossFit when it wasn't a sport. There was the CrossFit Games, but there was no one really telling me to sign up for the Open. None of that really appeared until I felt like I was in an affiliate. I didn't really know there was a competition side to this, or I didn't know where to go for it up until affiliates opened up. So again, that probably happened when I joined here, and I joined here as a member in 2013, I believe. And at that point, I was 23, and I feel like that's when I really started kind of going all into CrossFit. So that was a good time, I think, for me to get involved with it in terms of my development and moving out of bodybuilding. But I would never take back what I did beforehand, because I did a lot of things that helped me stay injury-free into CrossFit.
Yeah.
A lot of what we prescribe as prehab and functional bodybuilding and shoulder prehab and hip mobility prehab. There was a lot of that stuff I had already done for years.
Yeah.
And in boxing, we had to do a lot of different shoulder stuff to make sure our shoulders were strong. And so when I got exposed to kicking movements and butterfly pull-ups and all those advanced things, I never had any major serious injuries in there. I would have tweaks, and I still do here and there, just like everyone else, but the major injuries that ever really set me way back. So I never really regretted doing any of that, because it set kind of, I guess you could say, bulletproof me a little bit.
Yeah.
So, it's funny to see the trends of it got really popular in CrossFit got really popular, and then it's just everyone's we're gonna bodybuild now. It's I was already in that camp for forever. So for me, it's just I look at CrossFit as a centerpiece, and then I'll and I try to do this with people I do go to class too, but I'll say let's not go full into bodybuilding, but let's take parts of bodybuilding to help you here, and let's take parts of this to help you here. Just kind of keep it still at the core with CrossFit though.
Yeah.
I'm still preaching pretty hard. So yeah.
So you joined in 2013. How long were you into CrossFit at this affiliate at Syracuse Sweat Club, or formerly known as CrossFit Syracuse, until you realized that, hey, maybe this is a passion that I can do as a competitive sport for you and professionally as well?
I was just going to say, I actually called the gym. I called Ellen. The first time I called the gym, I actually asked if they were hiring. So,
before you were even a member here.
Yeah. I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't know if I wanted to be involved in CrossFit. I was looking for a training job just to get started anywhere.
Yeah.
And CrossFit was a cool, piece. I thought that intro to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then our gym just happened to be kind of this blend of like personal training and a blend of CrossFit. I love my CrossFit, but I do train a lot of people in like team sports. I train adaptive athletes.
Yeah.
I train. So I love CrossFit, but I do work with a whole bunch of different things. So although I love it, I do find myself busy with other things too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as far as competitive, I think the day I walked in, I was like,
I want to go to the games.
Well, I didn't get that far. But I knew, once I did my first open, I'm very number driven. Mm-hmm. So when I saw my placement and I, studied it up a little bit and I would leaderboard like any new person for like hours. It's really like kind of learning the sport and observing it. And then my second year, I could see improvements, but I could just kind of see that this was starting to evolve into something where you had to be, a certain build. Not that I feel like I wasn't. I felt like, you had to kind of stay ahead of this like curve of improvement. And now they have stats on it. So like now you know that every year the field is getting 3 to 5% better.
Yeah.
So if you were to find yourself becoming competitive, what you have to think about is, am I getting better by 5+%? I'm getting ahead of the field. But if you're not even at the top of the field and you're still climbing, those percentages need to be really casted. So I think I look at that now in my early 30s and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like 1% better this year or 2% better this year. Is it making me better than the field? I mean, it's debatable. Like some years are good, some years are bad. So, but I tend to be pretty like analytical when it comes to knowing my athletes' rankings, looking at things in that kind of lens for myself and for people I coach.
Yeah. So before we get into, specifically what you do here and the athletes that you work with outside of the classes that you coach, when you were on the phone with Ellen asking for a job, did they give you a job right away? What were some of your tasks?
Well, they weren't hiring at the moment. I didn't have my level 1, and I was working. I worked in like the restaurants out of college and served, bartended, did like part-time work. It's kind of just figuring out what I wanted to do, and I just kind of had to be patient. I had to get myself in a position where I could save some money, find a level 1. I found a level 1 in Charlotte, North Carolina, just to show them that I was like pretty serious about it. So I drive down there, go 14 hours, did my level 1, and then I came back, and it was a slow process, and it was something I had to be patient with.
Yeah.
Got my chance when one night I was shadowing, and one of the coach's dogs kind of had an incident happen, and he couldn't come in, and he was like, "You're up." So I had a full class of 20.
Oh my gosh!
From like shadowing to just like boom, you're like thrown in. It was fine. I was ready and I was excited. Yeah. So and then at that point, once I started group classes, then it was wanting to get into personal training. So then it was studying up for personal training cert until I built that book, and it just all took a little bit of time, but within a few years it was I was pretty busy.
Yeah. I mean, when we see you here now, you're still busy. You're coming in training people sometimes as early as 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you're here doing the specialty classes until 8:30. I mean, you're so invested between your own training, training your clients, and doing group classes. How do you continue to stay like ahead of the curve and educated on everything that's changing? And what, I guess, motivates you to keep doing this? I mean, since 2007, really.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I could just say like growing up, I had coaches that the way they formulated our culture into our teams was, this was your like identity, and you, everything you did and how you acted, how you like represented your school, were things that they made a huge priority. And there was things that were not in line with what they wanted. There was like consequences that were not even just like extra running or extra sprints, but just the way they could. I had a few coaches, the way they could just talk to me and kind of set me straight.
Mhm.
And maybe some of that some of the things they said, some of the things they did might not be okay nowadays. I kind of feel like old when I say it like that. But yeah, I mean, there was, a time where like it wasn't uncommon for, a bad play to happen on the field, come off the field. My coach like grabs my face mask, shakes my head, is yelling at me so loud that I'm like taking all his spit into my face and just like, this grown man just like actually like fearing that he's gonna like actually hit me or something. Like set straight. But I had some coaches early on. I don't know, they just made it almost like very militant.
Yeah.
And I just kind of that's how I always started. That's something though I feel like when I came into coaching, that was not a strength of mine though. Being really militant and not being someone who can communicate well and just like laying down a hammer. In the last couple of years especially, it really shows that it's not the best way to maybe approach every situation. Not that you can't be tough on certain situations, but learning how to communicate better, learning how to set up systems in place that make sure that athletes are still getting the service they want, but like you're growing together. So although I think it was good for me and my mentality, I definitely had to learn how to balance that out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people early on that had worked with me knew that I was like, I had no emotion. And I still can be like that. But I don't think, I have to learn how, as I grow as a coach and as I grow as a person, it's more, I have to make sure they know that that's a little bit just of my personality and that I'm not trying to make them feel any differently about themselves, when I don't say anything. So getting better, a little bit better at communication is definitely on the list, getting better. But that's something early on I think that I just carried in. Also, boxing and fighting sports, like when you get into those types of things, it's different. Like when you prepare for like fighting, like you can't like be lax. You can't, these things. The moment you go in to the ring lax, I mean you're getting your head pummeled in. Your nose is bleeding. All of a sudden, like things are a mess, and it's because you weren't focused. And you didn't think about things before going in, and you weren't focused. And the way I've like had to get myself into that position was just being more quiet, being more like streamlined, focused, and some of those things just kind of like carried over. So if people think it's like me being like just super disciplined, it's just kind of like I guess life events that led up to that. Some good, some bad. Some of that stuff was good, but like I said, some of it kind of made me like emotionless. Hard to talk to.
Well, it's definitely like for people who are in the gym with you, especially like the people who come to the 3:30 class, I think might witness this if they come early and maybe you're still in the middle of one of your sessions. You have this very disciplined mentality when you're doing your training. You have the headphones in. There's nothing that's breaking your focus, but then you go and you coach these classes and you are fun with the members and even with your PT clients. I mean, they come back and you're working with somebody one-on-one and you guys have your laughs or doing something goofy. So I think that it's cool that you have those two different sides and you can almost flip that switch on and off. When it comes to, your professional work, is there one thing in particular that you really love? Like you do the classes, you do PT, you work with masters athletes, you work with competitive athletes. Like what is your why when it comes to your professional side of things?
There's a lot of things. I think something I heard recently is like people give you power, and like there's times where like I see like a client that I love, or I just like get in my 3:30 class and we get into like the whiteboard discussion, and like I'm like halfway through class and I'm just like my mood is just great. Yeah. I just like love everyone. And some days I'm just like I don't know how like I could not have this in my life, because although like it is my job for people to like come in and like need to make their day better. That's what I want to do. I want to make their day a little bit better, hopefully they can learn a thing or two, but if, they have fun in the process. But, just like lightening up the mood a little bit, I like to toss, I give some people a real hard time, but it's just out of love, but, it's really fun. And I think for me, that's like the thing that gives me like a lot of joy, and it's just like helping people and, seeing people like come around and have a lot of success. And like, my mother just joined the gym maybe like 4 months ago.
We love her.
She's never been in a gym in her life. And like, for me, it's like, I was so determined to get her in here and to just like, not only have like her have an improved quality of life, but to just like be able to tell people like, my mother in her 60s has never set foot in the gym.
Yeah.
You can do this. Like, people say like, oh, that looks dangerous. Well, with the right coaching and the right programming and the right, pieces put together, she's doing fine. She's losing weight. She's feeling really good about herself. She has tons of aches and pains that have gone away from basically being in more of a sedentary position. And it's just like, that to me is like, sometimes like seems like the coolest thing ever. And it's just like, man, like, I can take someone that's never been in the gym and she's doing snatches, clean and jerks, deadlifts, like all these things look so dangerous. And she's doing fine. She's good at sled pushes. She's good at jump rope. She's like finding herself like really like wanting to pursue like skills. And that's like the thing in our gym that's really, cool. And that thing that separates CrossFit from a lot of other training styles is you do have to like acquire a lot of skills. It's not just like going in on a treadmill and like having these movements that are just so like a low barrier of entry that you have to like spend some time. You might have to spend some time with a personal trainer or like get someone to help you with it, or spend just some time in the corner working on your jump rope skill and that kind of stuff. And I've always felt like those are the things that like really help keep people in this kind of community, because you just like always want to pursue. You get like that success and it's just like you get a little taste of it. And you're like, maybe when I get there, it's like just enough. And it's like, oh, I did it this much weight at the barbell. It's like, the next day, you're like, I can do 5 pounds more. And then it's like, well, 6 months later, and all these programs and my knee, and it's like, but,
everything's gonna be fine.
Right? But but like I said, with the right pieces together, this is totally a program that anyone can do. So like seeing her go through this has just been like awesome.
Yeah.
It's been really cool.
Especially when like you think about somebody who's in their 60s that now might be healthier than they've been since maybe they were in their 20s or even their teens. I think is really cool to see.
That's the goal. She's still new. I have to slow her down more than
that. She wants it. She's motivated. She's really motivated. But maybe that's where you get it from.
Yeah. She's a go-getter. But yeah, slowing her down right now is the goal. And working on for her. But she's doing things, to the best of her ability, and she's already seeing a lot of improvement. Like I said, health benefits. So to answer your question, that's probably the thing that gives me the most fulfillment.
Can we ever expect to see you and your mom doing like a partner workout together or something?
It's funny you say that. I actually ran that through my head, and I was like, well, I better have this and this and this. And giving her all the jump rope, because I hate jump rope.
Right.
Jump rope.
You didn't learn your jump roping from her?
I'm already taking the pairings, and I'm like, she's getting this, and I'll do this, and I like this.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if we do, it has to be certain things. But
yeah,
that would be fun.
Maybe for Christmas or the New Year or something, we can have a cool.
Dad would love watching that.
He would come and you'd film it.
Oh,
when are we getting him in the gym?
Film it. I think he'd be laughing at both of us. That's how that would go.
Yeah,
it would be fun. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Is that the next goal, to try to get your dad into the gym as well?
Yeah, I think he'll transition to gym when he's comfortable. He's got a few injuries that we got to make sure like he transitions. He's got torn biceps, torn ACL. He's definitely a little. He's got some bumps and bruises before jumping into class where there is like big compound movements that involve a lot of things. Things need to be a little bit more balanced out, and that's how it was for my mom. My mom, unfortunately, was stuck with me like 4 days a week. No, maybe not 4, maybe 2 or 3 times a week in one-on-one PT, where it was like we're doing boring stuff. Yeah. It was like, well, can't do this. We have to like kind of build her up a little bit, and then when she started class, it was still super like safe, like really safe. And only like recently has she like upgraded a bell from 7 to 10, right? It's really slow,
Yeah.
super slow, but I'm pretty like persistent on it. So just make sure that I can stay in there a long time. But I would love to come in here. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
I've loved my whole family into this stuff, but I think
A family workout together.
I think you probably feel the same way too.
Yeah, I do. My dad is actually who got me into CrossFit. He was the one that did it at first, was doing competitions, and he was doing Tough Mudders, and he told me once that I couldn't be on his team because they were too good, and like I was the one that wasn't fit enough to be on the team. So then I'm like, I gotta get into the CrossFit gym and do what he's doing. So it's funny, you know, when you can make it,
cool.
yeah, like a family affair type deal.
Yeah.
When it comes to, you know, your goals as an athlete, you just turned 32.
You got it right.
I was like,
really get it right.
I was like, it's 32 or 33. I'm gonna go with the younger one.
I think it was like a couple months ago. I was like, I'm 33. I told someone that. I was like, wait.
No.
I'm 32. I guess I forget. What are my goals?
Yeah.
I think something that I've always just kind of like kept, you know, not even to myself, but just like as my own personal goals, you know, just making sure that I get myself better.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, that's all I can do. And like I kind of explained before, you know, I've gotten actually better in my 30s a little bit. And as much as, you know, I thought once I turned 30, everything was going to kind of like start going sideways on me, you know, dialing in my nutrition and continue to always like refine that, figure out that, hey, you know, the sauna is actually really good for you if you do it a few days a week on recovery, that kind of stuff helps a ton. Making sure my sleep's good. I have a whole book that I give people on sleep and just like sleep habits before I go to bed, and just different things that are helping me, you know, get into bed and be more relaxed, room temperature, and all sorts of stuff like that. But competitively, like I said before, the field's getting better at 3 to 5%. All I can do, and all that's in my control, is getting myself better. I'm pursuing my lifts just like everyone else to try to like squeak out every little bit that I can, and I just hope that every year I have improvement. And if I have steady improvement, it's worked well in the last 8 years I've been doing it, and I feel as though even if I'm only 1% better every year, that's all I can ask for myself. But I think I've gotten into plenty of rabbit holes with myself, wanting to get, you know, accelerated, you know, more and get better quicker. But, you know, at some point you just kind of find like what is the perfect balance in terms of like how much I need to work out, or how much training volume do I need, or how, you know, little does my training volume need to be for me to still continue to get better. And I'm always experimenting. I feel like I'm always using myself as like this, like I am like just an experimental like vessel, and I try things all the time. I do have a coach, and I've had a coach now for going on 2 years, and that was actually a tremendous help. Prior to that, I did a lot of my own programming, some success, but there is just something to be said about someone like making you do certain things, and that has been like really helpful too. And just like having someone, you know, just like people rely on me to make sure that, you know, they're deloading properly, they're taking breaks when they need to, they're not going heavier when they need to, you know, they need to take a little bit of a break. And Kyle does the same thing for me. He tells me things that sometimes I don't want to hear, and that's fine. And I just try to listen, and we make the remote coaching thing actually work pretty well. And so in terms of competitive, I just try to focus on like getting myself better, and that's ultimately all I can do. And, you know, whether it's, you know, it gets good enough to a point where, you know, I get into a certain level of, you know, caliber of athletes, but if I don't, you know, Masters is only 3 years away.
That's why I brought up the 32. You're getting close.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I haven't seen myself stall out. I had 1 year, 2019, where I stalled out a little bit in the Open. I had slightly, you know, declined, I guess you could call it, from my previous year. In 2020, that was like the COVID year. I had actually hired Kyle in that period of time. Had a really great season last season, and that all went really well. And, you know, I just kind of continue to find things that, you know that work. But I try not to like think about the age thing too much. I mean, I know like at it's inevitable. Your chronological age is just what it is.
Yeah.
Training age also, I've been lifting weights for a long time, and there's certain days where I think about certain lifts and I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever get to this point. So I'm 100 pounds under it and it feels terrible.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, I try not to think about that too much. And I tell this a lot to my athletes, and I feel like people will make fun of me because it's like a stoic thing. And it's something that I read a lot into, and it's just like you're always thinking like your mind or your thoughts or your words are your actions. And I tell people this all the time, like you say you're old, you're going to act old. You're going to walk old, you're going to move old, you're just going to be old. And like I know a lot of people that just they don't have that mentality. And like they're not blind to what's going on. They're not as good as maybe they could have been in their 20s, but some people that I train in their 50s, 60s, and I even have a client that's in his 80s. I think they just kind of like come in here and do what they can. And if we were to think about our age, our entire time of training, I don't think you really get any results.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a balance, right? You gotta sometimes also tell yourself like, okay, I gotta step back. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm literally killing myself. So I gotta step back. But so when it comes to my training, that's usually if I'm getting a little bit better. Ultimately, at this point, doing CrossFit now for almost 10 years or so, all I can ask for is doing my best. And that's why, like, when you do get an opportunity, like in the open or some of these competitions where you get to retest a workout, those are the times where it's like, I feel like I'm the most like pumped because it's like, this is your chance to show like where your work's gone. And it's like, competing against people, like, that's really motivating. Like, I love competing. I've done tons of competitions and I like to win and I try to win. Those are all things that like definitely are motivating, hands down. But I think that the longer I've done this, the more I just feel like I have like a WOD PR or a weightlifting PR or I PR like open workout from a couple years back. It's just like those are like the things that seem to like really give me like that fire now. And because I know those are the things ultimately that are the only things that matter.
Yeah.
And I can't control like who's the new kid from Brazil coming in who snatched 305 pounds.
Guy,
like,
what did you learn from him?
He's 20, it's like.
What did you learn from him, Pat?
The dab.
Let's see it.
I am dabbing here and there.
If you see Coach Pat doing that, he learned it from Guy, who snatches that.
But you see things like that. It's like, So, you got all these new faces coming into the sport. And there's like a whole another generation coming in where it's like, they started when they were 12. And like they are like at 20, really good. They have the weightlifting metrics I wanted by the time I was 30. It's just like, but
so impressive.
So I mean, all that stuff's really cool. But I definitely keep, in terms of my own athletics too, I always like to think that I try to lead by example. Like I want to always know that, like, I want my athletes that I coach know that, like, I do the thing they do. Like, I know that burpee interval is bad.
We talked about it today.
I was, you had a piece that
I couldn't complete.
And Kyle gave me a piece today that I almost completed. I had 30 seconds left to finish the last couple of burpees, and I just ended up laying down on the ground. Defeated.
Just rolling around.
I was like, man. But, it's like those kinds of things where, I like hope in the future with, people that I coach in the future and, clients that I coach now, that they like know that like I'm in the trenches with them. I know what it feels like. And I think that just gives you like a whole nother idea of like how to steer people. And it's not even coming from a place of like, oh, well, I did this, so you should do this. It's just like, there's just kind of that like relationship, like, I know what they're going through. They have a bad workout. Psychologically, it's like, what kind of place can you put them in that might, not make them feel better, but direct them in the right direction next, right? And things like that, where it's, you learn a lot of this through your own experiences too. So when it comes to my stuff, I guess that's all in a nutshell, kind of like what I like to think.
Is there anything that the members here don't know about you?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like, I guess some people would call my life pretty boring.
What do you do for fun outside of CrossFit?
Not much. Not much. You know, I'm in here training people.
Mhm.
I have my own training, and then you know, if I get opportunities to get to the sauna, I'll get to that sauna if I have the time. You know, I don't know. I mean, my parents live in Syracuse now,
Mhm.
so we were, they were in Watertown forever, so that's kind of nice. I'll go visit them now if I get spare time, things like that. So nothing too crazy. I would say I live in my work. It pretty much is like who I am, pretty much entirely. Yeah. I mean, I like football.
There you go.
I
Yeah, you go to the SU games.
My dad and I are big
Yeah.
SU football fans. There's not many SU football fans.
Some of them are still out there.
Yeah. I played lacrosse forever. I like the fact that Syracuse University is right over here, and I sometimes can go to a game. That kind of stuff's fine. I taught myself how to play guitar when I was 16.
You taught yourself?
I taught myself. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I let that go probably in my early 20s. I would, at some point in my life, I would like to get back into it, but it's just kind of finding the time. Mm-hmm. It's a big time commitment. When you get to a certain level of playing an instrument, you have to it's just like your CrossFit. It's just like anything else. If you want to be, the person that plays a little bit of music and can play real easy power chords and just a lot of people that don't know how to play instruments, it looks really good. But if you want to be really good and be able to play solos and really be able to learn the instrument a lot more, you have to put 3, 4, 5 hours in a day on the instrument constantly. And at one point, I was playing the guitar a lot when I had more time, and it was great. I had buddies that I grew up with in high school who they ended up being in a band. They're not quite making it. They're trying.
Are you their backup call? No. Didn't make the cut?
No, unfortunately, no.
Oh, man. Got to practice, I guess.
These guys, they kept going.
Yeah.
Right? They were my buddies who, if we would jam out or whatever, we would just play. I would play. I had a couple buddies in college that played instruments on my lacrosse team. We do a little bit here and there if I had time. But my buddies in high school, they just kind of stayed where they were.
Yeah.
They didn't leave and they kept going. They try to make it, a thing. They try to make it big. And they're good, but it's a tough thing to make. Sure. A living on. So
maybe you should get them in here to do some fitness too.
I would love to. I saw them a few years ago, a few of them, and they sounded like they'd be super interested, but they don't live around here. But yeah, that's also a different lifestyle too.
Yeah, I can imagine maybe it doesn't line up with the fitness lifestyle.
Yeah. But I'd say if there was a hobby I could get myself back into in the far future, that would probably be it. Mm-hmm. And it just, like I said, requires a lot of time. I feel it wouldn't be worth just doing a half an hour every day. Yeah. I'd be I'd be just wanting more, and then it would just be drive me crazy. So I gotta go back to work. Or I gotta go back to doing snatches and thrusters and pulls.
And doing burpees and laying on the ground.
But there was an opportunity I got at a fundraiser a few years ago. It's called Mr. Pink. And it was a breast cancer awareness fundraiser.
Oh, nice.
And a few of the guys here, we got to go raise some money, and we ended up doing a little set where we a few of us knew how to play. Yeah. And so we got our guitars.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of the others sang. It was
wow, your own makeshift band.
It was. It was really funny though. It was actually really fun. There's some really funny pictures of it, but that was the only time I ever got to pull the guitar back out, and it was I did a couple things, and a couple people were "Wow!" And I was if you play guitar, it was nothing crazy, but they were "Wow!" For someone that doesn't have any idea how to play, it looks great. You look like Van Halen, wow! And it's oh yeah, but no, that's a fun hobby, but it's time consuming. Yeah. So that's about it, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Fitness, a little bit of guitar. You're just crushing it, Pat.
Thanks, Lauren. Coach Lauren.
Thank you, Coach Pat. Enjoy the mustache while it lasts. Thanks, guys, for joining us for Coach's Corner. Next, we're going to get to meet some of the other coaches here at Syracuse Sweat Club. And thanks for doing the first show with us, Pat.
Perfect.
Fitness.
Fitness.